So, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ike MMA podcast, the Ike MMA show, whichever one you prefer. And I'm here today with Paul O'Neal, the nicknames, aka the Smelliest Irishman. I'm gonna ask you about that a little bit later. But so, look, man, how you doing? How are you feeling? How have you been keeping?
I'm doing excellent. Got an early day of training in today, and I'm helping my teammates get ready for some fights here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So excited.
And how's the camping trip last weekend? Or was it? Yeah.
It was really good. We spoke before this. I was supposed to have a fight 2 weeks ago that got canceled 36 hours before it happened, and it was really unfortunate. And so that my girlfriend and her dog and we went out to the woods, and it was just a good way to kind of clear my head, reset, and get ready for another camp and get ready back in action.
A change of environment always helps. I mean, I barely ever leave the UK to go on holiday, but I know that going away, even if it's just for a day, it really does help clear your mind and recharge your batteries. So look, I like to take it back to the beginning. I tried to look on just to research you and your fighting, your combat sports past as much as I could, but like many other fighters on the local scenes, wherever they are in the world, there just doesn't seem to be that much information about them. So, I mean, it's always overshadowed by those in the bigger names, especially those in the UFC. So, please tell me, what really sparks your interest in combat sports, particularly mixed martial arts and kickboxing?
Yeah, so I grew up in a martial arts, kind of way. I did karate from the time, for most of my childhood. I fell out of that, for making, poor decisions, and I thought I was gonna be a soccer player. I played goalkeeper, and but a 5'9" goalkeeper is not, doesn't work. But and then I moved up here to Oregon and found a really good team of people, and just after a while it was just something I fell into. I've been never really intended to fight, and then 4 years ago, 4 years ago now, my coach offered me a fight, and ever since we never looked back. I've had 11 fights, and seen all of them kickboxing. Unfortunately, the first MMA fight got canceled, but we're in works to get another one in schedule.
No, but still, I mean, with regards to you say the kickboxing, I mean, if I were in your shoes, I mean, I'll still be happy for the opportunity to get at least your name and your brand out, that people know who you are. At least they've seen one side of your talent, so that when you finally get into the mixed martial arts scene, they know what to expect of you. Because I was interviewing another athlete before yourself, and it was a similar story with himself. Although I think he kind of chose mixed martial arts after he did football, which we call soccer over here in the UK. He did the soccer side of things first, but he just didn't like the just what happened afterwards. When you get injured, the club doesn't pay for your treatment if you need an operation, stuff like that. But mixed martial arts, I think you do get more money. There's more sponsorships involved. So I think on that side of things, you're a lot more taken care of and looked after.
Yeah. Well, and I've been competing in sports, be it, football, or I played basketball, I played baseball, I was playing sports year round as a kid. And then, as a younger adult, I had nothing to do with my spare time. It was like there's not a lot of options, once you get out of high school. Once you're done with college, it's like, now what? And then fortunately I found I started out in a Muay Thai gym, and now I focus mostly on Dutch kickboxing and just kind of traditional Mexican style boxing.
No, I have to say that kind of training, I mean, there's training that I've been doing. The training you normally do when you go to the gym, or the sprinting, stuff like that, but the training when you go to combat sports, kickboxing, on mitts, on pads, sparring, I have to say that I've not done all of it. I've started mainly with the kickboxing side of things. It's very, very therapeutic. If you had a really bad day or bad week, bad whatever, it's a really good way to just vent out all the frustration and just refresh and calm your mind. It's really, really good. That's what really got my interest in into the sport as a fan.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really like what drew me to it. Like I was in a really bad place in my mental health, when I found my first gym here in Oregon.
Yeah.
And I was kind of falling into a lot of really destructive habits at the time, and just wasn't doing anything to support a healthy lifestyle. And then like my whole first year of training, I was still making bad mistakes outside of the gym, but it was at least it was keeping me out of trouble. And then now it's just I can't. I spend most of my time in the gym anyway. It's some that I like I grew up having ADHD, and it's hard for me to focus and like really, and like it's not even necessarily to focus on anything. It's that like I have to find interest in something in order for me to focus on
Yeah,
anything.
absolutely. Yeah, I
And
understand. Yeah.
yeah, so school was never my thing.
Mm.
But I remember as a kid, like I remember sitting there, I was that 7-year-old kid not paying attention to what the instructor was saying, but I was like, I want to be that guy someday. And it's the only thing throughout my entire life that's been able to kind of keep my interest and allow me to build positive habits. And into this journey, it really kind of changed my life through it.
If there's anything I do regret personally myself is I didn't get, excuse me, that I didn't get into the sport sooner, at least maybe not even to compete professionally, but maybe just for training, for exercise. Because
Yeah.
like I say, it keeps you in really good shape, and mentally it does keep you in check. It's good for the body, it's good for the mind, it really is.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to save this to to the end, but okay, your fighting, your most recent fight was a non-starter, it was cancelled. So I mean, when can we be seeing you? When will we see you get stepping into the octagon again, potentially?
So right now we're looking at we're in talks for a date here in August. That would be in Salem, Oregon for Arena Wars.
Okay.
One of my teammates, it's a pro aim card. So the top half of the card will be professional fights, and I'd
Okay.
be on the amateur half. One of
I see.
my teammates is going to be headlining the pro card. So it's like anytime he and I have fought on the same card, we've always had a great time. We prepare well together. So August, I think it's 13th that we're looking at is,
Okay.
that's what I'm looking at.
Awesome.
Looking to make 135 pounds, and just get back to work. I love fighting.
What's your current weight at the moment? So you just said that you've got I've seen make weight of 135 pounds. So you I think I asked you about the making weight. You're currently at 135 pounds.
Yeah.
And for your next fight, which is going to be sometime in, you said in August?
Yeah, August 13th.
August 13th, you've got to make weight for 135 pounds. So I mean, your current weight you're at now, well, how much do you weigh?
I typically walk around at about 155, and that's me eating whatever I want. I'm I don't eat meat or anything like that, but I'm pretty, I eat, I like to eat like, a lot. So in the times that, I keep working, I keep running, and I keep training year round. But if I don't have a fight on a schedule, I like to get up to about 150. But I'm pretty like overall pretty lean and pretty long and lanky for 135 pounds. I've
Yeah.
only ever fought one guy at 135 pounds that was taller than me. Uh, and my last two fights, I experimented with going up to 145. But both times, I came in underweight and fought a guy much larger than me. Because I was walking in with no weight cut, no water weight at all.
Yeah.
And it was really easy for me. But and then like there was one fight where the guy that I was fighting, he ended up outweighing me by like 10, 15 pounds. And
Sure.
that's part of the game. And it was a
Yeah.
fun fight, and I ended up pulling out the victory. But it's it's part of the game, I guess. You gotta cut weight to make weight.
No, I get that. That from what I've seen, all over combat sports, that's given. It has to be done to, otherwise you can't compete in that particular fight, in that particular competition. But I mean, for you, when you're going into a fight, making weight, how do you go about doing that? As in, how would you prepare? As in, what things you do, your diet, your training, fight camp.
I mean, I'm really good about running. That's kind of one of the beautiful things that, training soccer my whole life, really
Yeah.
prepared me for, is that I really don't mind running, so, like that's kind of one of my, trademarks, is that I'm very cardio heavy in my approach. I'll run 3-4 times a week, usually at about 6 to 7 miles a piece. And that's just part of the work. And, I'm training 6-7 days a week, and it's not even really a thing. I've actually I've toned down over the years how much I used to I've trained, because now I'm coaching for a living,
Yeah.
over at Portland City Boxing. So it's just, I'm in the gym literally every day of the week, and unfortunately here in Portland, it rains about 7 months of the year. So I'm no stranger to running around in the rain.
Yeah.
And I was running in the snow this year. It's one of those things I honestly don't mind it, because it kind of, tests your resolve. Like, do you really want to do this? But overall, making weight's not really a problem for me. It's just really focusing in on the things that I eat. I used to work in kitchens. I was a cook. I was a bartender for, oh gosh, about 7 years before, I was able to quit that and start coaching. So it's just, I really do like a lot of my own cooking. My girlfriend's really good about cooking. So just, I focus on preparing my own meals, staying active. And I don't even really weigh myself during the process, because I know if I just keep doing the right things, that's, scientifically speaking, the right things will happen.
You said you're vegetarian, so you don't eat any meats at all.
Yeah, at all.
That doesn't affect, as in, well, just I do find personally myself that if you don't have any like sorts of meat, whether it's poultry, meat or
Yeah.
fish in your diet, then you tend to get hungrier faster. You don't tend to
Yeah.
stay fuller for longer.
Well,
That's not the case for you.
fortunately nowadays there's a lot of great meat alternatives,
Yeah.
like the Impossible burgers, and there's like for me, I'm a big fan of the plant-based chicken nuggets. Those are my favorite, just because I was that kid that I wanted to eat nothing but chicken nuggets. And
Wow.
unfortunately, I'm still a 28-year-old man that wants to do nothing and eat chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great like meat, like alternatives out there nowadays. And there's a lot of good ways to access full sources of protein in a vegetarian and vegan way nowadays. The science is really kind of caught up, and with proper supplementation, it's a pretty fairly easy lifestyle. I ate meat my entire life. Like, I honestly didn't stop eating meat until almost a year ago. And I've honestly noticed no drop off in strength. It's just kind of, I have to just track my macros a little bit more, make sure I'm still getting my accurate proteins that I need. And just making sure, I might need to consume a little bit more food, but overall it tends to be pretty, nutrient rich. And like overall, like, I don't really notice a drop off.
So I hope you don't mind me asking, but
Yeah.
why did you become a vegan?
Well, I'm not necessarily vegan right now, just because like I will make the exception for pizza. I'm that is my biggest weakness in life.
Okay.
Like, if you see me training like 2 weeks out before a fight, I'll stop what I'm doing with mitts and I'll just scream like, "Oh, I want pizza." But my girlfriend's been a vegan, a vegetarian, for, oh gosh, probably the better part of 7 years. And overall, like, for me, it was just, she kind of opened my eyes that there's so many other ways to do it. And, you know, I as someone who likes to cook, you know, really liked the challenge. And, you know, honestly, it's pretty easy to, you know, kind of find new ways to make these things and make it still healthy and delicious.
So back to the having to make weight for the upcoming fights. It still fascinates me. Sometimes you do see, because I've seen your just looking at your just your physique throughout the years in the past, looking at your Instagram and all that. You've always been maintained that sort of lean, athletic physique. There's no pictures of you being overweight or you know, heavy, anything like that. When it comes to making weight, you've never done so much that you probably have done it probably a bit too soon, a bit too drastically, a bit too severely. And perhaps, you know,
like there was one fight where I ended up cutting about 12 pounds of water weight beforehand because I wasn't proper in my preparations. You know, it's only been the last, like, you know, I've been doing it for about 4 years now, you know, kind of, and like it took me a good 2.5 years to really kind of dial it in, figure it out. Like I've always, like, I work year round, you know, I love like if I as a fighter, like if I were to never fight again, I would still train, you know, just as much as I do, just because that's, you know, I love it, like with my heart and my soul. So, you know, for me, like staying in shape year round is pretty easy. It's just kind of a side effect of the work that I do. You know, and it's never like, I mean, there, aside from the one time that it was a problem, I did miss weight once in my career, and it was humiliating, you know. But you know, it's, you know, I've made sure that it never happened again. And, you know, if anything, my last 2 fights I was underweight, you know, by, you know, a couple, like the first one I was 5 pounds underweight, and they made me drink water to make weight.
Because, you know, I do know that, I mean, if I was to shred all my body weight down to a certain number, I know probably what for certain people, I think there's a certain figure weight was kilograms or pounds. If you go past that downwards, actually you're hurting your own body. Because I think everybody has a specific range you've got to stay in, depending on the body type, the heights, width, whatever. If you go past that, you're going to start having some certain serious problems. And the reason why I bring that topic up is that I've seen at some weigh-ins particularly for the UFC, some people have stepped on the scale and they've literally collapsed. And just relatively recently, I heard from another fighter that they, on one occasion, they had reduced their weight, they've cut their weight so much that they've heard their own brain rattling. They can hear it rattling subtly within their skull. So for me, it was crazy. It was really fascinating, you know.
For me, I really focus on the process, you know. I kind of like, I make sure I put in the effort in the front end, you know, so the work is like, I'll put the effort in. Like for this fight that got canceled, I was preparing for it for a good 2 months, you know. And like even before then, you know, I started, you know, cutting my you know, my diet. You know, I'm a big fan of sweets and stuff like that, you know. So I cut sweets out of my diet like 3 months before my fight, you know, and things like that. And for me, that's not really too hard to do. You know, I'm pretty comfortable like getting really lean down to about like 140. The rest, like making 135, like that typically involves a little bit of a water weight cut. You know, like, but at this point it's only about 5 pounds of water, which, you know, is pretty easy to just go in and knock out. It is a challenging process, to get down to 35, but, you know, for me, it kind of it you know, if you're committed as an athlete, you know, like, and it's just, you know, for me, it's not like, for me, I don't have to be motivated. It's all about discipline. You know, I'm very disciplined in my approach. You know, and that's one thing that, you know, I surround myself with my teammates that are also very disciplined in their approaches. You know, we're all very consistent, that we stay in shape all year round. And you know, it's all good.
It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like, some people want to be a fighter, but then, you know, they find out that the fighter lifestyle sucks. Like it's you're always sore, you're
Yeah, yeah,
always hungry, you can't go out and have drinks with your friends, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's all worth it in the end, you know. Like
Yes.
it's like I wouldn't have it any other way.
No. If not for the injuries,
Yeah,
that sort of lifestyle, the diet and training, you
yeah.
actually prolonging your overall lifespan. I think
Oh
if I
yeah,
can say that. Yeah,
absolutely. If I wasn't, you know, getting punched in the head for fun, you know, it'd be a pretty healthy lifestyle.
um speaking of fighting, the fight that was cancelled,
Yeah.
and hearing just how much time you invested in preparing for the fight, why was that fight cancelled?
So that was a matter of licensing issues. You know, I talked to the promoter, and you know they filed to have the licensing because they filed at the same time for their MMA and their kickboxing license. So the kickboxing portion of their card happened, and you know I tried to find an opponent, but on 36 hours notice, you know that was
Mm,
they
yeah,
ultimately couldn't find someone for me.
yeah,
You know, but you know, with the MMA, like you know, with up here, I was fighting in a different state. You know, so I live in Oregon. I was going to be fighting in Washington.
sure.
And you know, with that, you have to go through the state athletic commission. And it's, you know, anytime you go through, you know, like the government gets involved with the licensing of things, it's just going to take forever. And there was some errors that went down on like the athletic commission side that, you know, he was assured it was going to happen, but I guess it just never went through. It's a real bummer. You know, I really prepared hard for that fight, and
Yeah,
you know,
if
it was, yeah,
I would feel really, I mean, I don't compete professionally, but I would feel really, really, really pissed off, really annoyed. All of that, the more or less cutting out food you don't want, just all the sacrifices, everything. Now it's all gone down the pan. And the only thing I suppose the promoter can turn around and tell you is, oh, we're so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And you don't get any sort of compensation for that at all.
yeah. Well, and you know, it was one of those like because I've had a fight fall through before. Like 2 years ago, I had a guy like we weighed in the day before, and he just didn't show up to the fight. Like that one I was actually mad
Ah,
about because he talked a bunch of trash. You know, he was talking like like every
really?
chance you get because I'm not a trash talker at all. Like I don't have to talk trash. Like at all to want to fight, like, and just, you know, for him beating him up was going to be, you know, just the cherry on top, but he never showed up. This fight, you know, it was kind of one of those, you know, like I remember as a kid my dad would say, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, you know.
Sure,
And
yeah,
it was more of a sense of deep disappointment, you know,
yeah,
with this fight getting canceled, just because it was you know, a lot of my students that I train over at the I coach at, you know, they were like they all bought tickets, you know, and came up to see me. They drove, you know, an hour to come and see me fight. And it was, you know, it was a real shame. And just, you know, it's some, you kind of got to go through a little bit of a mourning process
yeah,
almost, you know. It's just I kind of let myself, you know, go through those feelings, you know, just like, but you know, I don't need to take those feelings out on like social media, you know, or anything like that. You know, I talked about it, you know, with my girlfriend. Like the second I found out the fight wasn't happening, you better believe I went out and got some pizza and a beer. Like that was the first thing I did.
yeah,
Like,
of
because I
course.
was like, okay, well now, you know, that's we're going off the rails here. Like,
Yeah, no,
you know,
absolutely.
but you know that like going out to the woods was part of that process of just kind of collecting my head, and you know, and then you know going back to work, and you know, like I mean I hold mitts for a living basically, you know, and you know, so it's like that was a good way to kind of process that, you know, kind of I'm getting about 5 people ready for their amateur boxing debut, you
Okay,
know, at the
cool.
moment. So it was like it was kind of one of those like as disappointed as I was, I couldn't let that stop me from just kind of continuing and you know, like one of my teammates has a fight on the 21st for a boxing match. Like, and my teammate Keanu Moyer's fighting for he just signed for Uriah Faber's new promotion, the A1 Combat out in Sacramento. He's fighting for their debut belt for flyweight. He might be a guy you want to talk to. But, you know, for me, it's just like, in the fact that we keep things moving so much, you know, there's never really any downtime. Like, I took a week off from training, but like, we're right back to it. You know, it's,
I know the sport moves so fast.
Yeah, you know, and there's no time to sit around and feel bad for myself. You know, it's just, these things happen. It's part of the business.
Okay, now I'm gonna move it on to something a bit more closer to home for you. Your nickname. I'm judging from your surname, you're of Irish descent. O'Neal. Now, God, your nickname. When someone sent me across your name, this person was, I was like, God, who would want to choose a nickname like that? But then you told me the reason why, and I thought, okay, that's actually a really good a story behind that nickname. So tell me about it. I mean, when your nickname is called out before a fight or any sort of promotion, a press conference, whatever, do people laugh or make jokes?
I mean, most promotions, like, you know, they're like, give us a different nickname. And, you know, like, I'm like, all right, because I'm not attached like to them announcing, you know, the Smelliest Irishman. Like, I get that it's not the most professional like name, like, but, you know, for, you know, we discussed it briefly, but for, you know, anybody who didn't read our DMs, you know, you know, it was a name given to me by one of, you know, my best friends I've ever had in my life. You know, I grew up in San Diego, California, and you know, my best buddy Julio, you know, I had four, you know, it was me and three other guys that I was hanging out with primarily. Julio, who gave me the name, and the Carrillo brothers, they really helped spark my interest and love for MMA. And so, you know, we were notorious for just going to parties and hanging out and turning on, you know, UFC fights or whatever fights were on. We'd watch Bellator. We would watch anything that was happening. And, you know, we were inseparable because of that. And that was in the era of the Black Zillions down in Florida. You know, back in the day, it broke up into, that was like Rashad Evans, you know, where, you know, a bunch of Brazilians came up to Florida and just started training, and it was great. And that was our favorite gym at the time. And so, you know, we called ourselves the Weed Zillions because we were heavy cannabis smokers at the times. So that's actually what that is in reference to, is a cannabis reference, because I was always, you know, always stoned for a time. But Julio, you know, he's the guy who, like, he was really there for me, you know, through thick and thin. And, you know, I was going through a lot of mental health issues at the time. And, you know, but that was the name he gave me. And then, you know, he encouraged me to move up here. And then, as I told you, he had complications from a surgery, you know, completely unforeseen circumstances. And, you know, ended up, you know, left with some pretty severe handicap as a result. And, you know, so after that, that was actually one of the things that propelled me into actually fighting. Because he was one of the guys who encouraged me into actually training, because, you know, he knew I, you know, trained as a child, and he's like, you love this, why don't you train? Like, and, you know, it just made sense. And, you know, and after, you know, his situation happened, it was just kind of, you know, everybody has to have a reason why. And, you know, for me, I do this for the people that wanted me to live a better life when I wasn't. And, you know, and just, you know, I do it to honor him and just kind of the love and friendship that my friends have given me. And, you know, as a result, like my buddy Xavier, you know, one of the four of us, he trains in at 10th Planet Oceanside under Gio Martinez, and now he's a competition jiu-jitsu practitioner. You know, and it's just like, you know, one person inspired me, and then, you know, for me, it's just, it set me off for doing this for the right reasons. And, you know, for me, that name is, you know, everybody and their mother is like, why do you keep that name? You know, and it's like, for me, it's just something that's, you know, it's a lot more like, it's part of me, you know, it's part of the people that allowed me to continue like growing as a person, you know. Yeah. It's
Those who
ridiculous.
do,
I love it though.
you see, that's
Yeah.
well, it may sound ridiculous, but I mean, have you told them the backstory behind the nickname? Because if you did, maybe people
I
might
mean,
have a
with promotions, I'm just there to fight,
sure,
honestly. Like, you know, I'm you know, I the only time I talk to anybody there, like, is if they, you know, if they ask me what my walkout song is, you know, and I always pick something different, something fun. You know, like when I won my amateur championship, I walked out to "Careless Whisper" with George Michael's. You know, the song with the saxophone solo start to the web, and I beat the dog piss out of the guy.
uh, no, but that is good. I mean, after you
Yeah,
told me the reason behind it, I actually it wasn't funny anymore, and I thought that's
yeah,
actually really really cool and really really good. It's almost like, but I mean, your friend that is disabled, is he's still with
yeah.
us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good,
You
good.
know, and you know, it's hard for me to keep in touch just because, you know, he's not able to communicate really like with the phone.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Carrillo brothers, like, I'm still deeply in touch with them. They still keep in contact with him. He's fully aware of what I'm out here doing. He loves it. Like, and you know, that brings me a lot of joy, like, just overall.
Um. Okay. Well, I'll be bashed for asking this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway.
Yeah.
You're 28 years old now.
Yeah.
In future, and this is something I've asked quite a few fighters on the local scene. Just in, say the next 5 years or so, do you see yourself probably competing in one of the bigger names? Okay, there's the UFC everybody knows about. What about Bellator, PFL, ONE
Yeah.
FC? Do you see yourself competing in any of those bigger names, or do you still prefer sticking to the much more local scene?
You know, I'm honestly open to, you know, to the whole world of MMA. You know, like one of my, like I mentioned earlier, my teammate Keanu Moyer, he's starting to, you know, travel around the United States fighting for like Titan FC, you know, and like groups like that. You know, that's something I'm very interested in. Like, I mean, I would love to fight, you
Mm,
know, like, you know, like for me, like, you know, like even just one fight in the UFC would be a dream, but like Bellator would be glorious. Like, I would love
I
to
know,
fight in
yeah.
Bellator. Like, honestly, to say even just to fight on the local scene, like in a professional level, would be a great thing for me because, you know,
Mhm.
like even to just like, because I've never been someone who's been,
So you're saying, yeah, go
but
ahead.
oh yeah, but you know, like my teammates, you know, we're a very small gym. You know, we have 5 fighters, 6 fighters out of our gym at any given time. It's very small. But you know, Portland, Oregon is such a hotbed right now. You know, we've got Ricky Simone in the area, we got Journey Newsom, we got guys and Bill like Austin Vanderford just fought Gegard Mousasi. Like
Yeah,
like that's an incredible thing to me. You know, we got
yeah.
Paige Van Zant in the area. You know,
Hmm.
it's like, and then it's also an area that's got a very like it's a legendary history. You know,
Mm.
like you know, like the Pacific Northwest is a hotbed for just you know legendary MMA. And you know, it's so like I just really want to continue that tradition of like you know like excellent fighting and wherever that takes me, you know, I'm happy to do it because you know just the fact that I get to do it is man that blows my like it blows my mind to this day. Like you know.
Um, there's something that did kind of interest me in what you just said earlier
Yeah,
about the that you if you were to fight in the UFC, that would be great. But if you were to fight some Bellator, that would be a dream.
yeah,
That you said that'd be
yeah.
glorious.
I mean,
And so really for you, you'd actually choose the actual fighting, being recognized for your talent over the fame, which is what you'd be
yeah.
offered a lot in the UFC.
Yeah, you know, like for me, just fame isn't everything. You know, I grew up in the punk rock community.
Mhm.
So it's just, you know, being big and being flashy, like money is that's not something that interests me. Like, you know, it's just like, I mean, yeah, if it happens, that's really awesome. That's really cool. Like, but for me, just like nothing's ever been about the attention, you know, it's about like for me is I want to spend like for me, I'm just like I want to spend the rest of my life coaching, you know, like
Mm,
and you know, the more experience on a high level that I can get for that, the more I can help people develop their skills. Like that's the dream is to become the best martial artist I can be, whatever the stage that's on, like I'm ready for it. I like, you know, I've like I'm ready for anything that may come.
mm. No, I like what you said. That does sound like a really mature answer. I'm not saying that you're mature, but that does sound like a
Oh
very
yeah.
wise and sensible answer because when I look at the UFC and I look at Bellator, and I've said this before, even to my co-hosts from the past, that those guys who may not be on big promoters on big cards or stacked cards, you know, I've noticed that even on the local scene, you have fighters that are really talented. They put on a really, really good, entertaining fighting show. And the most annoying thing is that they just do not get the exposure. And I noticed
Yeah.
this sometime in the middle of 2020. I just looking through some YouTube clips, see some highlight from a Bellator fight, and the fights were very, really, really entertaining. And then I just couldn't see the clips when I saw some clips for a UFC fight, and the fights weren't really that good, but the clips and highlights were everywhere. But for the guys in the smaller scene, and Bellator no exactly isn't small, but Bellator,
Yeah.
the guys don't really get enough recognition and exposure for their talent. You know, I just couldn't
Yeah.
see, I just couldn't see the any sort of I just couldn't see enough highlights or clips of the fights that they have been competing in. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. Yeah, Bellator is always like it's honestly kind of like it's a lot of fun just because, you know, like those other promotions like that's the people forget that, you know, there's such a wide world of MMA out there. Like, man, like the cards that one championship has been putting on lately have been mind-blowing. Like that
Yeah.
Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson versus Rod Tang fight was incredible. That whole card like blew my mind. You know, it's just like it kind of annoys me that people get so focused on just the UFC, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
there's such a wide world out there, you know. It's
Mm.
just I want to be part of that larger world because I think in the grand scheme of things, you know, the UFC is just part of MMA history. You
Correct.
know,
Yeah.
you look at like my favorite promotion of all time was Pride. Pride Championships was the greatest promotion of all time.
Mm.
Like the way that they did their shows, the way that they like the fighters that they had on their roster in their prime, like that, like I would have like if I had the choice between fighting an old school Pride and then the UFC, I would choose old school Pride any day of the week. Like,
No, I agree with everything you're saying there. So it's just that the meter just came on say that we've got to wrap up in like 10 minutes.
oh
So
yeah, no problem.
um no, actually we can go on for a little bit more if you see because you said that
Oh
you've got
no,
nothing
yeah, no,
else.
that was the end of that statement. Yeah, no, that's good.
So God, I just forget the question I was going to ask it. Is there anyone say that any of the students you're coaching, anyone from your gym that we should be looking out for, that are only really talented names, talented fighters that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier, Keanu Young Guns Moyer.
Yes.
I'll send him your way. He's a really great guy.
Okay,
He's gonna
thank
be
you.
fighting, you know, twice here in the next 3 months. You know, he's fighting in A1 combat for Uriah Faber. That's I forgot exactly the date. He just accepted that fight. My guy Jacob Cooper. You know, he's a you know hot one on the scene right now. He's a jiu-jitsu wizard, you know, with excellent Muay Thai. My guy Michael Tyner's getting ready for a boxing match right now. We're all locals right now, you know, just at our amateur level. But you know, my like, well, Keanu's on that professional level right now. The rest of us are on the amateur level. But my coach Ishmael White, you know, he's like, I firmly believe that you know, in the next couple of years, he will be a name you guys will know. You know, he's very innovative in the way that we work, and he works very closely with my coach George Gonzalez. You know, and we work a lot of Dutch style kickboxing and a lot of just traditional like hard-nosed boxing. And, it's a very, we like to keep it simple, but like executable, and we execute our plans effectively. And just, because, you watch like my buddy Keanu, he's the best striker I know, but he has two of the sickest submissions on the professional level I've ever seen. I'll have to send him your way. Pulled off one of the sickest guillotines, like just straight up like jumped on. And then the other guy broke his arm in 6 places with an arm bar. Like, we're one of the smallest shows in town, like at Equip Academy. Like we've got a small room. Our sparring rooms are legendary though, because we open the room to all other people, like Jalen Bates, who we mentioned Bellator earlier. He's 5-0, 6-0 in Bellator. He used to come through our room like this recently. It's like 6 months ago.
Sure.
We've got, yeah.
No, sorry, I was just looking at some of my computer there.
Oh yeah. It's just high quality work in a small space. And yeah, I'll send you my guys. Like they would love to talk to you.
Definitely. Any sponsors or any other names you want to give a shout out to?
I'm currently unsponsored. So if anybody in the Portland area, I don't know how many listeners you have in Portland, Oregon, but we'll start some. We'll find them.
Sure.
But so the only name I really have to plug is my gym, Equip Academy. I'm sitting in the parking lot of it right now. We're on Instagram. We're at Equip Academy. I think there might be a PDX at the end of it. I should have. That's unprofessional for me to not know. But you can find me at the Smelliest Irishman on Instagram, all one word. Yeah, just check out my teammates. Like I'm just as excited about their growth as mine.
Sure. Paul O'Neal, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. And
pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Thank you. Definitely, we have to get you back into the show at some point in the future. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I look for. Hopefully, next time I'll have a fight to talk about.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Take care.
I'll see you later, my friend.
See ya.